speaking of sports, we've got a guy that can talk about all sorts of different stuff, and we're
he's-
always lucky to have him.
And he's always on his A game.
Never seen him have a
Yep.
B game, C game,
Yep.
or D or F.
Yeah.
But Roy Fuoco, everybody from the Ledger, and has been around for a long, long time, following in the footsteps of one of his mentors, Durwood Buck, and so many, John Valerino, and so many of the folks, at the Ledger that are good friends and partners of Polk County Sports Marketing, or Visit Central Florida Sports with the new brand now. But Roy, this really has to be one of your favorite times of the year. You're getting into the NFL stuff, the collegiate football, all the fall. Well, let me put it this way: all the fall sports, the secondary prep level is just a whirlwind. I mean, how do you keep it all straight? It's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of we're kind of gearing back into it, the beginning of all the sports seasons are fun, because by the time the football season is coming to the end, I can't wait for basketball to start. And then by the time the winter season ends, I can't wait for baseball and softball and track. That's what I like about covering high schools. But it should be another fun year for football. A lot of talent in the county, a lot of good teams, and still trying to figure out who's going to exactly be good and maybe a state contender, and who's still trying to build.
Yeah.
So the names this year, apparently, it is preseason, but we've got Lakeland, you've got Lake Wales, you got Bartow has a ton of transfers.
Yeah.
Talk about each one.
Yeah, I mean, Lakeland, they're loading the skill positions again. The quarterback that transferred from Palmetto, Xander Smith, I mean, I was really impressed with him in the spring, both on the field and in the way he handled himself, off the field, talking to him. They've got three really good running backs. Jordan Henderson, who transferred from Lake Wales, kind of interesting one, because he would have been the number one guy at Lake Wales, and they still have Demarius Rucker and Markel Johnson from last year. And they got four great receivers. Jamar Taylor Jr., his father, people maybe recall, was a great running back with Chris Rainey back in the that 04 to 06 run. And then they got Carlos Mitchell, who was a transfer from Lake Wales. And then Pat Dennis, he goes by. He was part of the mix last year, but like Taylor, he was. They had Tyler Williams and those other guys that kind of got lost in the mix, and then they have Rick Pennick, who came over from Ridge. So skill positions, they're loaded. They got one starter back on the offensive line, so that's to be a work in progress. But they usually do a good job there, and then it's just a matter of how they can rebuild the defense. Bartow, like you said, they got a lot of players who, some of them transferred out when at the coaching change in the spring, and then came back, like Quavion Bird, who went to Lake Wales and came back. Others, they kind of joined the bandwagon, like it happens today. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes together in the first year coach. Found it interesting. Danny Smith, the coach of the '96 state championship Bartow team, he's helping out, and they've got 3 or 4 players, from what I understand, like Terrell Parham, who was on that '96 team. So they can kind of pass on what it takes to be a state champion. So it'd be interesting if Bartow's good. When Bartow's really good and Lake Wales is good, those football and basketball games are great. And even though Lake Wales lost some good players to to Lakeland, and Bird went back, they still have a lot of talent. I mean, Rashad Orr came over from Victory; he'll be in the backfield. Bryson, and I can't pronounce his last name, Levidiotis, I think it is. He was at Arbondale, and he didn't finish the season at quarterback last year, but in the 4 or 5 games he played, he looked really good, passed for like almost 700 yards, I think it was. And they still have, defensively, Dylan Simmons and John Quay Richardson, so they've got a core to build around. So again, it'll be, but they did lose a lot, but I imagine they should still be in the mix for district title and maybe make a playoff run.
Well, and maybe I missed it, which shame on me if I did. Marvin Fraser.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, he's the thing that I liked when he was talking was, like a week ago, was well, he told me this when he came when he was hired, that he went to Lakeland as an assistant, because he wanted to learn Castle's offense, how he, Castle was a truly multiple guy with, under center, with traditional tight end, fullback, tailback, in the spread, shotgun, a variety of stuff he did, and he wanted to learn how to practice that because he thought it was, really, effective, and he seems to be carrying on. I think they'll throw a lot more this year than maybe Castle would have, but they're still going to run a lot. They get the 3 good running backs, so it'll be interesting to see exactly how it comes together. But he's got the veteran staff with him, most of them. C.J. Johnson took over as defensive coordinator, but aside from that, I think Bill Baldini was still helping out. He's not on the field practice, but wherever he can help out, from what I understand. So they got the veteran coaching staff, so that always helps with the transition. For years, the successful programs were the ones that had the stable, not only head coach but assistant coaches, and that can't be overstated how important those guys are.
And you got an operation like Lakeland with a reputation, the expectations are high.
Yeah.
And as any team, you're going to managing change.
Tell us about the teams that you're looking at maybe being a surprise this year.
Well, Lake Gibson's going to be interesting because they have one of the best young quarterbacks in Joel Morris, a sophomore, at least. He has to do it on the field, but he's being really highly touted by not only his coach but a lot of people. They've got they got the good running back Ventrell Graham. His brother played at Lakeland. He's back. They've got a really strong core of receivers too, like Lakeland does. So they've got those skill guys. Cordell Lewis is probably going to be one of the best receivers in the county. With all those teams, it's like, are you going to build a line? Are you going to build a defense? And it's 'cause a lot of great defensive players graduated last year. It's going to be interesting to see what Richie Marsh does over at Frostproof now that he's back. He's always had a successful program where he was at when he took over for Ferris Brandon. He coached Travis Henry in the '96 state title game, and and then Fort Meade is another. That should be a nice small school rivalry between Fort Meade and Frostproof. The other small school rivalry, which will be interesting, might be Victory and Lakeland Christian, only because they both lost a lot of players. Lakeland Christian's really young. Victory, lost some players to graduation, and also as a transfer. So, but both coaches have done a good job with their program. So that be interesting who rebuilds quickest. And just talking Winter Haven with Carl White, they're going to be they're another team that's got the skill guys, and it's, they're going to make some noise in the county too.
Pretty exciting time and it's just hard to believe. We're here in the first week of August, and football practice has started. It's just like, I don't know what it is this year. This summer, I just can't wrap my head around it. But I'm ready.
I'm looking forward to the cooler temperatures. That's what I'm about halfway, 3/4 of the way through the football season.
You ever wonder what it's like in Hades?
Yeah.
I'm probably looking into a little bit more football than in normal years because my Red Sox are kind of middling, so usually I don't really care about football till October because I'm following the Red Sox, and then I'm curious to see how the Patriots do with the with the new offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm a little bit more enthused this time of year for football at more than just the high school level than normal years.
Yeah, well, the NFL is going to be kind of interesting this year. I just don't see that there's one elite or two elite. Of course you have Kansas City, that's there. Eagles look like they'll be good. Green Bay lost Rodgers, went to the Jets.
Could be addition by subtraction.
It could be.
Yeah. Niners look good. There's a lot
Niners
of teams
are
that look
tough.
good. So.
Yeah, but it's just not one that's just dominant. I don't see this year, other than KC. And Patrick Mahomes is something else.
Yeah.
He's got a good head too. He's not a Colin Kaepernick knucklehead. That guy. But
they covered his father in minor league.
Huh?
Patrick Mahomes, that covered his father when he was a minor league pitcher coming up.
Oh, really?
With the Orlando with the Twins organization. He
yeah,
was one of their hot prospects. And he almost pitched a no-hitter. Only I think he lost it with like 1 or 2 outs in the ninth.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, everybody, we have an opportunity to be visiting with Roy Fuoco, writer with the Ledger, and great opportunities, particularly at this time of the year, to give us a little bit of a preview into what's happening with our prep sports. But there is one topic that is, for all of us here in Polk County, that we should be very proud of. A guy that was a big friend of sports here in Polk County with Visit Central Florida Sports. And all of our staff just on committees. There's a guy that gave back, but his work on the football field, I always said this, I'd never want to get hit by him. He's a D-back, but man, some of the stuff that he pounded into the turf was incredible.
And he was still solid. I mean, that was what always got me, is when you gave him a guy hug, there was still a solid guy there. It was like, wow.
Well, Ken Riley, the reason we're talking about him is because something we have said on air, on radio, all sorts of stuff over the years. And yeah, he was involved with us. Should have been in the NFL Hall of Fame a long time ago. That was not a wise decision on the NFL's part, in my opinion. Ken was as good off the field and a nice human being off the field as he was a fierce competitor on. He was just something else. Always liked him, respected him, and can't say enough good things about Ken Riley. But Roy, you've had the opportunity, been around him, talked with him, all of this type of stuff. What are your thoughts on my comment about he should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, and as someone who grew up in the 70s and even followed football, I mean, the Patriots up and down, but I actually liked the Steelers, so I watched some of those games, and I have a football card of Ken Riley, so he like even before I long came to Florida, I knew who he was, and it's even back then, sometimes if you didn't, you knew your own players, but if you knew players from other teams or something, that means they were, especially the football cards, because they only gave football cards to the better players. Yeah. Not everybody liked baseball, but yeah, he was. When I talked to him, I want to say for a nice long interview about 4 or 5 years ago, I forget when it was. When Ira Kaufman, people should thank, longtime Tampa Tribune writer, he kind of led the push to get Ken Riley in the Hall of Fame, and I had a nice interview with him in the morning at his house, and we said earlier, class act all the way, and always friendly. When I got to know him first, at these Hall of Fame banquet meetings, or
the
something,
mixers and all that,
and coming up, he was always friendly and real good guy, and but athletically, obviously that his record speaks for itself on the field. When I did the story, I was hoping to talk to like an opponent, and Lynn Swan was AD at USC, so I figured maybe I get a hold of him. Well, they got back to me and he said try to Stallworth, because when Steelers played, Riley used to go up against Stallworth and not Swan. Okay. And I couldn't get a hold of him, unfortunately, but he definitely was one of the top 3 or 4 defensive backs of the 70s.
Yeah, good guy, very humble too. One of the things I was really impressed with.
Well, that's what Ira always said was probably what hurt him. As I know Ira from back when I was at the Tribune, and that's what Ira had always said probably hurt him. And that's when I talked to various sports writers from around the country, from either that time or current. It was that humbleness. It was the 70s. A lot of the 70s superstars had little bravado, edge, and swagger, and the fur coats and the cigars, but that wasn't Ken. He stayed true to himself. Just a class act, class human being. Yet another fantastic human who came out of
Bartow.
And came out of that academy. Union Academy.
Yeah. We were talking about what he did in high school at Union Academy. I think he played quarterback. I was told, and was just a legend in the area before he even got out of Polk County, and probably another thing that probably hurt him is playing for the Bengals. As good as the Steelers were in that era, some guys got overshadowed because of that. Yeah. I'm sure that didn't help.
Yeah. The Bengals snuck it up.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. Hey, let's talk about Ken Riley for a long time, but some sports right now in the fall oftentimes get overlooked because the obsession with high school, college, and pro football, track. We've got a big cross-country meet coming to Holloway Park coming up in a few weeks, and so cross-country, not high profile, but it sure takes a lot of discipline and an unbelievable amount of training. What's the scene look like in Polk County?
Well, that's going to be interesting because Crystal Gomez graduated not last year, the year before.
She was.
And she was a lot. And then Lake Wales had a run where they had Paul Stafford, Andy Denton, Mac Updike, with some other guys that as a team they were really good. Mm-hmm. And then I think COVID kind of hurt cross country with numbers. Coach was telling me, last year or two, it's been a little thinner than in the past. Cross country. There've been some good athletes out there, and so it's going to be interesting to see how it's kind of coming back. Some Jade McBride, that was the girls' runner of the year, she's back. So the boys might be a little wide open. Izzy Myrtle from Lake Region, he was a senior. Mm-hmm. But Santa Fe has a good runner. And my mind's blank on it. I think I know it, but I don't want to say the wrong name. Jenkins has a couple of runners. Caden Lewis, I think his name was, and Sam Otero. Mm-hmm. They had good track seasons. So, and then Lakeland, I think, has a young runner coming up. So, it'll be interesting to see how strong it gets, because cross country is one of those sports in Polk County, kind of there's an ebb and flow to it or something.
Yeah,
sometimes it's real strong, and other years. And then you have some good coaches like Milton Lyons does a great job over at Layton Christian, and over McKeel. They've sometimes some of those programs, even Jenkins, especially Jenkins, even if they don't have an elite number, they sometimes have numbers to do good from a team standpoint. It'll be different this year. Dale Meskimen, the longtime Jenkins coach, mm-hmm. he had to step down at the end of last season, for some family reasons, mm-hmm. To help take care of his mother. So not having him on the scene is going to be a little different, too.
Yeah, I remember announcing that name, at the All Sports Awards and Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's going to be strange because, Dale's, as long as I've been here, Dale has been, all those track meets out there at Holloway, all the cross-country meets at Holloway, Dale is at all of them. So,
well, coaches like that are
Dale around.
Yeah, but coaches like that are invaluable because, they run meets and they're, just the biggest challenge is sometimes is just getting the athletes out.
Yeah.
And he's one of those coaches that have traditionally done a great job with that. Just like George Whitmire, the longtime Lake Region coach. Those guys they know how to get the boys or girls out depending on what this who it is, and that's why sometimes they're always team standpoint they're always challenging for something. Mm-hmm. and
I've never a cross country runner. Never had any interest. Didn't want to. Ran track.
Yep.
And
I told you I don't even like jogging my memory. So.
You're winded
Yep.
from the kitchen to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I know
You got
that.
it. Yeah. A lot of trips to the kitchen, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Roy, before we sign off here, at least with you for now, the others fall sports and brain freeze. Dementia is a horrible thing. What else do we have?
Well, Lake Wales, Mary Lee Hardman, she's been a top swimmer for the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. She's won, I think, 3 gold medals, a couple of silver medals, a bronze medal at state. So, she won 2 state titles as a freshman, one as a sophomore. last year her times were good, but just the competition was a little better, and I think she had a second and a third, I think, at state, or a third and a fourth, second and third, something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what she does as a senior. And volleyball, McKeel, they've got one of the top setters, in the state, and Julie Urbina. She's going to be going to Georgetown. And then just watch out for Winter Haven in volleyball. They Dylan Seacrest has done a great job building that program. He took his beach volleyball team in the first year of beach volleyball in Polk County, took them to the state tournament. They graduated their setter, Tori Martin, who was really good, but they got one of the top, a couple of the top players, back. They got a good young core back, so they should be good. And then Lakeland, who's coached by his sister, so there's a nice family rivalry going on between with Dana Seacrest over at Lakeland and Dylan at Winter Haven.
Yeah, well, it keeps the level of competition high. Hey, Roy, thanks so much to you and of course Andy Cuppers and Leon for all the big partnership and the wonderful partnership that we've had over the years, and certainly your knowledge about the world of Polk County sports is second to none. And having you on kind of admittedly brings Jack and I back up to speed, which is a good thing. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us.
It's always fun.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this interview and want to watch more Sports Central, click the video below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.